Doing a good job does not mean you should get a raise. At my last company, I was working as a marketing executive. The team included myself and a senior marketing executive. As time went on, I began to take on more responsibilities to the point that I was doing more than the senior in the team, which they admitted. I spoke to my manager about what I need to do to get to a senior position. She gave me goals and a timeline. I hit those targets, and she would move the goalposts. She did this 2 more times. All the while I was using my skills to reduce costs and improve the projects I was working on. Specifically, I had started to design everything myself instead of using the expensive design agency, saving the company £45,000 per year. I finally set another meeting with my manager to discuss a promotion. I showed her how I'd increased the profit margins of all my projects and all the extra work I'd been doing. Her response was, "Just because you make nice things and do extra work doesn't entitle you to a promotion." I sat there shocked, while she said, "But don't worry. You'll get there." Then ended the meeting. She had led me on about a promotion for 2 years. Here is where I started my malicious compliance. I stopped doing anything outside my job description, which included all the design work. Everything went to an agency. The whole team relied on my design work. But when I told them why I was stopping, they were also quite happy to start using the expensive agency. It wasn't until our next quarterly meeting that my manager noticed our profits per project had harshly dropped. When she questioned why we were spending so much, I said, "As design is out of my remit, we had to use an agency." She was livid, as she had to present the stats to the CEO that week, who ended up yelling at her in front of the directors. She tried to give me an official warning for sabotaging the team, but a talk with HR cleared that away when they realized it wasn't part of my role. She then told me that I had to sign a new contract with an updated job description. I declined that too. Eventually, she asked me what it would take to get me to continue running my projects like I used to. And I mentioned the job title and salary increase. She begrudgingly accepted. I was worried about her being hostile. But then COVID hit and the lady was made redundant. I stayed for a further 2 years before finally moving to a much better place at the start of this year. And as of today, her LinkedIn continues to show that she's unemployed. Her manager keeps getting me to jump through hoops to get a promotion, then tells me even if I do a good job, I don't deserve one. So I stopped doing anything out of my job description and caused the team's profits to decrease a steep amount. Manager get yelled at by CEO. I am offered the promotion and then my manager is made redundant in COVID and has stayed unemployed since. Sometimes I think these, "What can I do to get promoted?" conversations need to be had not just with one's boss, but with the boss's boss as well. I've heard far too many horror stories about bosses who refuse to promote a great employee because then the great employee won't be there to make that boss look good anymore. She had led me on a senior marketing executive, not telling the absolute unvarnished truth. For a moment I thought COVID made her redundant was a new way of saying she died. Except for the bit about dangling the carrot for another 2 years. Plus an actual job description at all. This is nearly word for word my experience at my previous job. I also took on the duties of my colleague, who was checking out on his way to retirement, still a few years away. I did get the title, however, but had to dig in deep for compensation. After fighting it over, I got about 6% above what I'd been making, which was already severely below the going market rate. All I asked was for them to close the gap. Unlike you, I did continue the design work, and that has now helped me in my new position. We have access to external agencies, but I prefer to do what I can in-house to avoid the inevitable ping-pong game of communication to get the exact layouts and graphics I need. After playing this cat and mouse game with management, trying to pin down an actual list of duties from HR for literally years, I got another job that pays nearly double what I was making before. The look on my manager's face when I gave my notice is still something that gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling inside. Karma's a B. Well done, Op. I worked for a company a few decades ago that put up one-year goalposts they thought I couldn't reach, with the reward of bringing on another person to the team to help maintain the expansion. Blue passed their goal and was immediately presented with a higher goal for the new year. At the end of that year, Blue threw those posts and inquired about hiring the extra set of hands. Was told, "You've shown you're able to perform at this level, so the target has been raised." To say I was livid would be understating the anger within. But somehow, I sold myself on the idea it was best to stay with them and reach for the stars. This meant working 16-18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the 2 weeks I did take off that year, my longest stretch away was 5 days. It took over 5 weeks to get caught back up. A close and dear friend sat me down one morning over breakfast. "You're working too hard. You're working all the time. We used to meet up for breakfast every other week and today's the first time I've seen you in over 6 months. I'm a vice president and I don't work as hard as you do. You need to quit." He said this plus or 3 months before my end-of-year review. Stupid me thought it's only 3 more months. I can do this. After I met their third round of moving goalposts, was told, "Maybe next year." Out the door I went, never to look back, and never to repeat the pattern. Haven't to this day. Do not let a job become your life, 'cause you'll not have your life anymore. I had a job where I was told I would be up for a raise after a specific amount of time. I had taken on many new responsibilities since starting, and when it was time to discuss my raise, I was told that sales weren't up enough for me to get a raise, so I told my boss that sales weren't my department, and if they weren't able to give me a raise because other people weren't do their job, then I will be rescinding all responsibilities I had taken on that were not included in my original job description. I was promptly given a raise, tears of joy, when I left the job over a year later, on good terms, to move out of the country. They had to hire 2 people to replace me because I was so efficient at my job. Apparently she was too toxic to get another job. Congrats. Every job I've had, doing a good job rewarded me with more work. It never comes with a good form of reward. Even if there was a way to earn cash incentives, it would be removed very quickly. It just leads to you seeing what the lowest bar the company is willing to settle with and making that the marker for everyone else's productivity. I've never been good at staying within the job description. I see something that needs to be done, and I figure out a way to make it happen. So, last spring I typed up what I was doing, how much money it saved, earned, and let them know that I got a 36% raise. I also volunteered for a new additional task that got forgotten about frequently, for an additional 14%. Boosted my pay by 50% overnight. I'm still very pleased with myself. The lady was made redundant. Best part right there. You both thought you were saving the company money. Only one of you were right. I really loved your story at first, then you dropped that final sentence and I had to restrain myself. In my desire to start dancing on the spot. Why not drop her a message? AHW. You're still looking for work? But don't worry. You'll get there. Give it a little while. Her LinkedIn profile will shortly get updated to consultant. I had started to design everything myself instead of using the expensive design agency. Ooh, why? This is often the opposite of a savings. Designers aren't just people who sucker other people into paying them to use Illustrator and Photoshop. The pay increase should have been retroactive to the first date that it was promised. This would have given you a couple of years of the pay increase as a lump sum. My boss told me I should be at a higher tier for what I am doing and that she will try to get me promoted. We have a pretty good work relationship, but I am not counting on her words. When time comes, if increment, bonus, promotion is not up to my standard, I am promoting myself by looking for another job. The lady made herself redundant. TFTFY. People like her forget that her bosses also keep an ear on things, so I would imagine that keeping up on and getting rid of her was something of a no-brainer in the end. Speaking as a business owner, I must say that any monies given to retain a useful employee are well spent. Except in a few extreme situations. He or she is constantly producing more value for you than their cost. So pay what's needed to keep them happy. As a boss at a multinational, we have no power to give promotions or raises. Believe me, we work year-round to set up employees for the annual promotion period, and even then, corporate handcuffs the dollar we can give out.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.